Hi, and welcome to this Fornav coffee break. My name is René Brummel. I'm a product specialist at Fornav, and I will be your presenter today. As this coffee break is live, you can ask your questions via the GoToWebinar question window. We will answer them at the end of the coffee break. Today, we're going to use JavaScript from a template report. We have discussed both JavaScript and report templates in earlier coffee breaks. We know we can use JavaScript to improve the look and feel of our reports, to merge or split data, show images and watermarks, and many more things. Today, we will discuss how to make creating and maintaining our scripts easier. We want to avoid writing the same code twice, so we don't have to copy and paste all our improvements and bug fixes. We can do this with a templating function of Fornav. To demonstrate using JavaScript from a template report, I'm going to use these steps. Prerequisites, what do I need to get going? In step 2, I will add JavaScript to a template. In step 3, I will inherit my scripts from the template. In step 4, I will inherit DataItem scripts from the template. Let's start with the first step. Today, I will work on a Business Central on-premise server with the Business Central 2022 Wave 1 release. I've installed the universal code version of the Fornav customizable report pack, and I have executed the step-by-step wizard from the assisted setup to get started. Of course, everything I do today is also available in the Business Central SaaS environment. I also have the Fornav Designer installed on my PC. The Fornav Designer can be downloaded from the Fornav website. The first thing we're going to do is add some JavaScript to our reports. We will just use some simple demo code. Today is about inheriting code from a template and not about writing complex JavaScript. So let's move over to Business Central. Let's grab our sales template today. I typically use the sales documents for these coffee breaks, but everything everything we do today, you can also do on any other template. The techniques are the same. We just use sales documents for demos because they're used so often. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write some JavaScript in my onPre report trigger. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare a global variable, which is my line data, and I'm going to assign that with an empty array, and I'm going to use that to store some information from my lines. And then I've created a function print some text, and that function returns some text. There's nothing very fancy, just a demo how these functions work, how they behave, and how we can inherit them from our template. So I will add a text box on my header, and by the way, normally we have allow script errors set to yes on our template headers. I will set that to no because otherwise my errors will be suppressed, which usually is a good thing on templates, but not today. So from my text box, I'm going to call my print some text function. Don't forget the parentheses, otherwise JavaScript gets a bit finicky. Which is going to print the some text return from my function. So I'll add that to my header. Make it yellow so it stands out a little bit. And then we're going to get some data from the lines I said. So from the lines I'm going to use my onPre data item, and I will use the onPre data item to reset my line data. So if I print data from more than one invoice, my line data gets reset in the onPre data item. And then the on after get record. So when the record is read from the database, I'm going to say line data dot push, and I'm going to add my line dot number to my array. So nothing fancy, nothing weird, just a simple array of all of my numbers from the sales lines. So hit OK there. And finally, I want to display those numbers somewhere, so I'm going to grab a text box, place it in my line footer, so I can show my stored information there. And what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to use a simple JavaScript feature called join, which you can use on an array, which will join all of the components of the array with the string that you specify. So I'll join all of my line numbers with the simple dash. So hit OK. Save as custom layout and activate so we can inherit the code from other reports. And let's preview and see what happens. There we go. On our header we now print the some text, which is the return of the function we created in the onPre report. And in the line footer I now get a string of all of the line numbers that I've got in my invoice. So that's exactly what I specified. The second thing, of course, is to tell the 4.5 child reports to inherit these scripts that we have added from the template. So let's go back to Business Central and let's see what happens if we don't inherit anything. We have the new layout enabled, and let's just grab the sales invoice and run the report and see what happens. And what happens is quite simply that we get some errors in our report. And whenever you get a JavaScript error inside 4.5, then 4.5 will always give you a second page with the errors, and it says that my print some text, the reference error print some text is not defined, and the reference error line data is not defined. So that's quite simple. It means that our scripts are not on the child reports yet. So let's go and remedy that. Let's open these reports from Business Central, and you will notice that the scripts in my inside my sections are inherited. So everything that's inside a section automatically gets inherited. I don't need to do anything to inherit scripts in my text boxes. I don't need to do anything to inherit scripts in my show outputs or anything. That happens automatically. But I do need to inherit the scripts that we've added in our onPre report, where we define the line data and the function that we specified. So in the properties of the report, you will notice that we have the onPre report script, but we can also inherit the script from a master report, which is not filled in by default. Let's go and do that now. I'm working in a VAT system, so I'm going to grab the 4.5 sales template. If you work in the US on a US system with sales tax, then you need the sales template sales tax. So please be aware that there is a difference. We have two sets of sales documents and purchase documents, and if you're in the US, you need the sales tax stuff. So for now, I'll use the 4.5 sales template, inherit that, preview my report. And when I print the report, you will notice that my sum text now gets inherited, and I don't have an error anymore in my line data string because I have defined the line data in my onPre report. That gets inherited, but the data is not filled yet, and that is because the scripts to fill this are in the line on after get record and onPre data item, and everything that you define on your data items will never get inherited by 4.5. Of course, we do want to inherit that code, and there's a nice design pattern that we can use to do so. So that's what we are going to do now. We'll move our code from the data items triggers to the onPre report trigger, and this has two advantages. We can inherit the code, and we have all of our code in one place, and that makes it easier to find and edit the code. So back to our 4.5 designer. And what I'm going to do is to do some quick typing, or just plain copy and pasting. There we go. I'm going to add two functions in my onPre data item, and in these two functions I've got the function line onPre data item TP. TP stands for template. I use these for non-template reports as well, and then of course they're not called TP. In the line onPre data item, I reset my line data. In the line on after get record TP, I push my line.number into my line data array. So that's exactly the code that I used to have inside my line triggers. And in my line triggers, I'm going to remove the code I have. And instead of this, I'm going to use my line on pre-DataItem TP with parentheses. And I'm going to use my line on after get record TP. So what I've done basically is I have moved the function from my on after get record and on pre data item to the on pre report trigger, which means that my functions get inherited. I've replaced them with a function call in the triggers, which means that if I save this preview, that everything will work as it did before. I still get my my line numbers, so that works. It also means that when I go to my sales invoice, all I need to do is to set my function calls in my triggers. And now, of course, JavaScript says it cannot find the name line on pre-data item because those only get read in during the runtime, not at the design time. But we know they exist, so we'll just add the call line on pre-data item TP, and we will add the call line on after get record TP. And if I preview my report now, my triggers are inherited from my master template. So that means that if I want to change anything here, let's say I want to move to description, all I need to do is change that in my sales template on pre-report. Moving to description, save my report, and then preview my sales invoice again. And we've moved over to description, and that of course works on every report that is connected to this very specific master report. Let's recap what we just did. The first thing we did was to add JavaScript to our template report. We just used some simple demo functions. On our invoice report, we inherited the onPre-report JavaScript trigger from the template report. We noticed that this inherited all the scripts except from the data item onPre and on after get record. Finally, we moved the code in our data item triggers to functions in the onPre-report trigger, so we could inherit those data item scripts as well. Thank you for listening to me so far. I see we don't have any questions at the moment, so I will continue and wrap up this coffee break. If you want to know more about 4nav, or if you want to download the 4nav Designer and Converter, please visit our website. If you want to install 4nav in Business Central Cloud, please visit the Microsoft App Source. You can watch more videos about 4nav on our YouTube channel. If you have any questions about 4nav, please email them to support@4nav.com. For a full list of upcoming and recorded coffee breaks, please visit 4nav.com/coffeebreak. Thank you very much for listening to me today. Goodbye.